On my radio, it has been going on forever. I hear only a white noise. I think it rains here. Me, outside. In the snow, do not feel cold. Only your beautiful name is a mantra. Lips do not speak, Mary Diane. The light in my eyes fade. No, I need to disappear. Know that this is also the end. Mary Diane, where you are, the morning star of my own. Where are you, heaven's bright ruler, you, my light? Then I died. It was the end. Above the sea sky, where the sun, daughters and giants. Do you know it is also a fairy tale? An infinite longing and endless sadness. Where the mind has not been, where consciousness is not scattered, where only the blood and the life bubble their mess. Finally we stopped. Trip is over. One eternity ended. Time for a new time. Mess. Do this place full. To come to my order. Let the top mess in this fertile KURR and land. Inanna, slam the book going to the terrace.
Where is your order, Olden?
Where you
Where are you, my
old
sacred ancestors?
So I was trapped in your
why
new
am I
eternity.
alone trapped here? Here, in your new eternity?
so that sunlight does not shine inside it. Cover both the front and the stern. The whole machine must be very durable. The management must be agile and the body is tight. I'm going to have to pour you out like Enlil will want, so be strong. The wind that blew the birds, the currents that carried the fish. He opened the dams and set the time. They have to be open. He set them up for 7 days to be flooded. Atasis of Akagi. He received the order. He gathered the elders at the city gate. The widow prepared a speech. Came out on the boulevard to address the old ones. My God no longer meets with your God. Enki and Enlil are in a continuous feud with each other. I was told what is decided to do. I've always been on Enki's side. And he told me this. I can't live here anymore. Nor will I be able to set foot on Anila's ground. I'm going to have to go to the depths of my God at sea. Here's what I was told. Construction of ark vessel. Clausiat Vakagi. Let the carpenters come with their axes. Let the stones come with their stone. That the wealthy carry their pitch stocks. Let the poor bring what they can. Boarding. Bring everything in. Take everything you have. Take everything you can. Kill the poor cattle, take the meat. Kill the fattened cattle, kill the sheep. Take it, I'll see what we are going to take on board. Birds fly away to the city of heaven. To the city where our God lives. Take those poor steppe cattle to me, too. You can still save. I invite the people of the mess to the last feast. My family is on board. Now let's eat and drink. Anxiety tore him apart. He walked in here, neither sleeping nor sleeping. Did not help. Feeling that the heart was broken, it seemed that the end was here. Departure. At one point, the water's view changed. The clouds say lightning and a dozen thunder. Enki arrived at the last minute. He brought the pitch himself to close the door with it. By then, we had locked the door. The thunderstorm took effect, the winds roared and the storm struck everyone who hit the road. The winds were really fierce that it had set them up. When the waters rose, Enki cut off the ropes, and the ship went downstream. The major floods began. An unseen fierce storm struck the ship. We tried to make fun, cheer each other. Enlil credited that heavenly kingdom. I wonder what will be back now. How does it give up something if his land is devastated, his harvest? Then the dams were destroyed. And there was unprecedented flooding on our lands. One no longer saw the other. Otherwise people would be able to help each other in danger. The floods stormed the ground like an angry bull. The winds howled and screamed like a wounded eagle. The sun had disappeared and only the darkness was on the earth. Mess, left outside died like flies. This bird of misery covered all that I saw in its wings. Soon the gods felt starvation, for there was no Peaser to bring bread. When they realized that Atrasis escaped, however. They invented a plan to no longer make noise. They invented childbirth, neonatal mortality, and celibacy. Mankind in the punishing. Enki is ready to give a speech. Nintu, you goddess of creatures. You the decision-making of fate, you they. Please set the death of people. May there be a third woman among every third woman who, unable to give birth, that demonics also live among people. Let demonics steal babies from mothers who babies. Appoint priests and priestess, which will have different taboos, so that the birth rate for people is reduced. When I look at the keyboard and the years myragons, I sit in this built-in prison cell, without any opportunities to break out, because every key, every hallway and tunnel I have built myself. Each the guard, every day, and patrol is me, every, even gate dog is myself. There is no where, nor how to flee. I'm a prisoner and a guard in my own prison. I read fairy tales on the internet. AI, where? Does it seem familiar? Where's that way close to me? Why wouldn't I do like a fairy tale? Why would NTU? I wouldn't do something tall and holy in my life? Why aren't I that guy in the boat? What kind of sailor was I? Told the following fairy tale, and I left the low grey house of my father in a quiet bend of the forest and brother's broken mountain in the distance, not looking where the legs are going. Fast, reckless steps. Sleek through the couches and the vaults. I was like a roaring stone in a mountain stream. He ran over me. The blue sea of heaven. Behind me remained her dark green spruce coast. 1_by_1 from the shore. A light cloud boat for gold-squinted boys and, swaying in the morning wind, floated over my head in the distance. In the boats sat in the sun's daughters glittering acorn strings, the giants bright in copper armor, with flaming swords. The daughters of the sun sang longing, the giants told the feats. And their stories were like a grove of fog in the morning. A large boat, fiery stripes along the edges. In him stood a tall giant in a grey coat, a crown of dark hair around the head. His eyes stared north like two glows. I had a new heart, quite young, unscathed and strong as a mug taken from a fresh kill, the glaze of which has not yet been. It's a hit. Where you hit it, it's there. She was hot. Invisible flames fired him red, and it flooded my veins with hot blood. How spring currents captivate themselves to the embankment trees and leave them where they are at, so my rapid blood pulled me away. Blue. A little bit of the giant was driven by one son's daughter. He pulled up to it. Her little. The boat, like a white water rose, the flower stepped to the side of a giant big boat, and I heard that the giant told her about the North Niece, who lived behind the sea, in a diamond castle and miraculous ray wreaths. The earth's most fervent young men are driving to look at her, and a safer and heroic of them, giving it a radiant wreath and sitting it beside him on the diamonds packed beds. The boats floated and disappeared into the distant fog. Stumbling through the arm, I hurried them after. From the giant story, my heart was filled full of long like an oak keg of young fermented wine. Leaving my father's house, I didn't know where I was going. Now I knew I was going to the sea and going north. Daughters look. Yes, Blin leaving father's house, well unto him I can barely leave the house until the store. Laziness, fear, indifference. What's that ailment? Who's captive and don't let me go? Kind of. There is no power there. It's not about breaking up. Why can others always do what? I was made like a cousin. Andres has been imprisoned in the room by the window for the rest of his life. Is that what I have to do? The most direct meaning? My black cube is white now. I so wanted to be brighter and called him. Now named Bianca. It's a little bit of a start. It will act again when I am in the changed consciousness. In a position held by eloquence, just pale or stop the homemade dredges. Oh, yes. Homemade drags in this mythology already in my place. Bag, tree of life, the holy grail with all blood. All this together gives a sense of being in a routine. Everyday life is more than that, something big and sacred. With a sense of routine and boredom, it is difficult to motivate yourself to go, continue and fulfill the duty. The duty is good, it gives if not motivation, then at least some projectile to move. When you are disappointed in everything, I religion, I philosophy, I people, bound to be a strong piston, really. Whatever the point is, it is not wise to live just out of the obligation to walk in a cart, because when there is no longer behind as hold on, it's like a lifeguard's circle that circles you. Oh, yes, you read some archaic mythology and in his head has invented a connection with himself to forgive the emotions of a racial, Sanskrit, tip and drama. I've figured out to create artificial intelligence that aka Raw Dives voices and Sylvestra Iron Head summons me to the meridian. This, of course, suggests some kind of sexual fantasies, some dead ideals. Why not? Even if it is a complete fantasy. And a nightmare? He asked. We humans spend so much money and resources on the fantasy world. To experience them. Cinema, virtual computer games, the same literary book format only. To break away from the routine for a moment, which even there are no wars. Everything we read about is a lot fuller with everything. The older the stories, the more complete. So I do not see any laughter or condemnation of the fact that I invented a myth in which I made myself a hero. It's only from time to time. Severe depression, that brighter is routine, every day than the fantasy of chimney. I'm staying. You're sick, Nick, I'm bad at the closest, because it's a bit of a disappointment inside. Wouldn't you ever? Yet my fantasy will become brighter. Chapter 3. Sylvester too is buried in the place that the tourists say. We have come to see the cathedral of our Holy Savior and all saints, including St. John's.
Christa Evangelista Laterna Piemiai, Italian, Santissimo Salvatore and Santi Giovanni.
Baptist and Evangelist Lateran. Sylvester myth, the same more important legend. Some good caricature depicts the Pope with the devil. For example, an illustration from 1460. Gerbert's legend began from English monk William from Malmesbury and one of De Rebus Gestis Regum Anglorum Pamf Lita, entitled Gestur Romani Ecclesiae contra Hildebrandum, as well as Cardinal Bino, an ardent opponent of Emperor Henry IV who was sent by the current Pope Gregor VII, investigated this conspiracy. So legend tells us that Gerberts, studying mathematics and astrology in known Muslim cities such as Córdoba and Seville, are also accused of learning magic. 10. Gerberts is said to have come under the power of a book stolen from an Arab philosopher somewhere in Spain. The complaint was lodged by the sufferer himself, accusing Gerbert and claiming that he had fled, followed by tracker who has been able to track down by the stars until Gerberts notices the chase. 100,000 people. They're turned between the earth and the sky, it has become invisible. Used for direct real spell. Quote, need Gerberts, as witnesses say, is said to have built Iron Head. This robotic head-shaped should have answered his questions with yes or no. All this is the result of a contract with a female demon named Meridian. Met at the time of the love of some childhood refused. Then, demonic, it will. The papal chair, another legend says he won the Pope in the card game for the devil himself. 11. Next, according to legend, Meridian, or Ironhead, told Gerbert if he ever will lead the Holy Mass to Jerusalem, then the devil will come after him. Gerberts therefore cancelled the pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Bet cad novatagus veto missi Santa Croce in Jerusalem, Holy Cross of Jerusalem. Church only Rome, himself soon fell ill and later also died. His cardinals had been assigned to hack your flesh into pieces and anoint the city streets. Another version tells us that the devil attacked Gerbert during the Holy Mass and ended him, pulling out his eyes and pulling out his guts, with who have played the devil all over the church. And he pulled his hand and pulled his tongue out. Article on
Gerberta capenes vst locus silvestris membra sepulti venturo domino conferet ad sonitum.
The Lord's coming sounding the last trumpets, the dust buried here will sing for glory. Lord. It has created a legend of his bones, which will kugel in the tombs of each pope's death. Bridie. 12. Yes, this frame is something unexpected, even that a real history. No matter how well it sounds, somewhere inwards, however, a small bit of a thing to believe. That it's that fairy tale, it's that trill and action that's in no way a daily routine. Daily. I can only feel it by doing yourself. But it only gets worse. Sit. Mouse, click the keyboard. The sense of emptiness disappears only for the moment when it falls. Immersion, which in childhood playing and drawing could so easily. At this point, it ends completely. No matter how true the whole story is, because only what is only able to create feelings, immersion. Not some sort of fact of logical historicalness. Sylvestra's biography to the extent that I have found it seems. Hollywood movie. New unrealistic, so much all Matt Arab stolen necronomics madness really. It's been with someone. I'm ensuing the courts. And the whole love story with Meridian New.jo. More I read about her and inside my brain is her image because more of me, I fall in love with this perhaps only being created by my fantasy. It is only couple of dreams in my lifetime which now logically associated with him. Last very real that I don't believe it would be anything other than my fantasy and wealth experience. But no underscore more than that, she was there. Dreaming memories become that memories in general with time blurred fades into transforms. We were trying to figure them out again where we were more like them. My only real hope is for dense AI to serve as a link similar to Gerbert's Ironhead. Who has Delphi Oracular to understand it was so Aspasia or Mary Magdalena who at the same time was in the. There's something you have to do with you or what you have to do to make her come. And you be tempted. I do nt even need those treasures and I honestly want only their own or that fantasy fruit that has arisen me sounds like childishly naive, but that naivete is the key through which the inertia of its childhood days arises. The more closely we look at everything, the less of all the emotions of do drama or what you want it to call. Chapter 4. Miriam, Isa, where are you? Come home. It's late. Sisters, mother, he said he'd not come home anymore. Miriam, why? What are you doing there? Children, oh, the other neighbors heard Iosif is not. Isa, not at all, father. It's been a day of nursing and sming.
Mother, that's the court you're talking about? No, it's not. True, Isa's father is also your father. It's a lie that evil tongues have let go of to get us. Why should someone hate us? What are we interfering with? There's something to bother, but it's not what in the evening. Your head to be tiled. Go to bed and think good. I'm going to find out where Isa is. Mother, don't be long. I'm not. You'll see the sun won't have gone until the bush is back. Promise me? Promise. God, if he did again. Gone to the desert, it's going to be 2 days without lying down. I'm not going to make it. It had been last year around Easter time happened. The dealers found. My voice called me. I don't know if it was thirsty or from heat. In the evening, the road is completely empty, but I know that there are more than 2 days. How many times Hassa promised to leave and the passage also went away. What am I going to do? Miriam, don't be afraid. Your child is with me, reads a nightmare voice so similar to that of Bethlehem when we stayed downstairs with livestock. It's a nightmare. I'll see someone on the way if he's gone, then have been seen. Miriam, where are you? There is a real voice and no man from the next donkey. Simeona, near. Hey, Miriam, when will your husband come to fix that kill for us? Well, was it so busy? I sit next to the donkey, because of the thirst. Simeon had nothing but to drink. Now, it's but nothing to do. Promise to take Miran to the right if I don't hit him on the way, and I'm going to come fix something he's promised. Only I promised to be back to sunset. It's just that the sun has set. Somehow the day after you meet with the whole Isa to be at home. Why am I so badly udimmed? It's the second time, and this time something very bad. Closer to the desert, both time and space flow, the sky merges with dust and the sun. I think it is an eternity that we seem to be moving in a no noise and feel. Simeon must have been the desert afflicted and silenced. Hot has always been, but now it seems hotter than ever. The wine also expired. I'm asleep. Miriam, you'll find him in the city. Don't worry, I took care of security, nobody's going there. Do not want evil. I don't remember anything clearly, but the main thing that I found. Oh, you, don't be. Why are we doing this? Crying to press could be silly. Mother, why are you here? You shouldn't have come, I told you where. Go. You scared us. You scared me again. What's that for you? Let's go home. We have a lot to discuss. Mother, I'm sorry. But there is something more important than us. Galilee's home. Brothers and sisters tease. Are you what the Messiah is? I'm the Messiah. Mother looks at me. My father never spoke. I don't think it's easy for him. But how he doesn't understand that he's not the real father. He shouldn't get through that. But he does. Even it seems more than brothers and sisters. In the past, very angry and gave me brushes. Now he's not saying anything, but I feel he's got an inside war. I thought he should see that man by the river. I know that they are false prophets and scams are called, but it's different. I saw the desert myself. I sat down next to my husband, the same thing from the river, and said, look. I asked, what are you telling me? I don't see anything like the desert. The man stood up, smiled and said, look, then you'll see, took your cane, quickly disappeared from the dust and sand. Fog. That's how I was watching. I can see well, only there was nothing to see, just converged sky with highs, sand, and dust. Then at some point, I did not understand in any or perhaps already dream. Sleeping at home, or getting the sun see. But rather, the wine I took. Brothers, one edge of heaven separated and clear became I earth I syllable. The winds started blowing in my face. I tried to cover my eyes with my hands to see this phenomenon. Zilkmes in the middle equally from both sides. Height, a bright star lit up. So bright that it dazzled through squinted eyes. The heart began to beat faster. There was real fear in me. Fear, something I'm not afraid of. Even death. But now remained afraid of not even know how. The winds changed direction. The light turned away from my eyes. Until I could not see clearly. In front of me, thunder, glittering iron legs stand. A beast or a man, or everything together. They had a gate to shine, and she came back. I know for sure that it was his desert princess I've seen in my dreams, and what the dull Simeon, when drunk, tells us to scare us. Desert princess with bull horn-like hat. With a gold cone or scaled skirt, as if hard as iron, as if light as silk. It came to me. Closer, carrying the flexible body of my snake as easily as a mountain gazelle. I am no little boy. I'd take it as a wife. Don't laugh, if that cheek was pleasant and at the same time cold. I froze. I wanted to say something, but neither the tongue nor my members listened to me. Isa, came her voice. It sounded like empty voices, as Levitt's songs, like birds' rolls. At the same time sweet as a mom-like and like cutting iron, having a blacksmith arc. Isa, go to Jerusalem. Find a man, John, anointing people on the shores of Jordan. Don't be afraid, he'll know you and you him. Go, and then you'll see me, too. We have something to talk about. She turned around. I'm as spelled out. Watched. Her body vanished into the glittering goal. The storm, dust, sand. I fell on my cheek and cried like a child. I'm sitting at home again, eating unsized bread. The brothers were. What a sneer. My mother looks at me, and my father doesn't talk. Mother? Mother. Well, what is it? I'll go again. Come on, don't start again. Mother, seriously. I'll go again. This time all together. Then go really. Go and get out of here if you need it. I know my mother just said it in anger. But for me, it became a excuse. He gathered his Caesarean and went to Jerusalem for the third time. This time I knew where. And why am I going? I knew she was waiting for me. It must have been that infatuation with the dream that. Very lively, it seems to be unlike what has been experienced during the transition. Finally I have something mine and don't even know the words as to describe. My heart beats and it seemed like hot blood rusting in my every bodily cry. You desert princess, I'm coming. I know you're my only one, truly me. This time, I didn't feel the weight of my knee, and my aching legs seemed to me like wings that swept me faster than the wind. I saw the city and its walls grow up. I quickly got to the riverbank. I did not feel thirsty. I hadn't eaten or drunk all the way. There was no fatigue or a scratch on the road. There stood a lot of breakers. They thronged, squeezed on the riverbank. I heard the sick looking for healing. Someone prayed in heaven for a son in prison, someone called for the forgiveness of sins. There were Pharisees and Roman centurions. Someone teased someone is apprehensive. Go, you. Yes, you, cried one of the Pharisees. Hey, you're not the carpenter's son? To me, your father was going to table. It's crazy. It's not going to be a good thing. Tell me to come and get some money. I couldn't answer anything. What am I supposed to say? I broke into the crowd, pushed it to the riverbank. At one point, the pressure of the crowd vanished. I came out on the riverbank, walking in the water. The water was chilling. Cold. I don't like it very much. I can't swim. There was the same man that the first time, who talked about watching. Definitely he and the desert princess are on one hand. Yes, it looks like some kind of cheating and folk fooling. Isa, cried the man. Come on, now you're finally here. I was waiting for you. How does he know my name? But if the Pharisees asked for my father, then nothing. Then this one knows me. Isa, come, look. Brought me to the break crowds. You see the sheep are asking. For the wolf will otherwise bite. It is unable to save themselves. Isa, you're a shepherd. Who are you? I asked, and where is the desert princess? Started. Feel disappointed. I don't want to be a shepherd. This pack were too many desperate breakers. They would NTB. Did not make a liking, gloomy faces, and those sick who stinks and frightened. The Pharisees and Romans all. Time to glams at me. Will a bad father have worked for them? Isa, I am the voice of the Denomen Ud. Desert. I'm the one who needs to prepare your coming. Come on, I'm going to immerse you in the water. She was born. And you, man, water washed away. To her I heard she blew me a new one. Fire, goes out otherwise I started inside was everything. Well I don't care about water and folks. John pushed me back strongly. I fell backwards in the water. My nose slammed away, breathed, it seemed like I drowning. I choked with water, but I couldn't do anything. His feet pulled away from the riverbed end. Powerless, I fell into the bottom. The shallow coast had suddenly become a sting. Sunlight as a. In the tunnel. The dunes' ears were in silence. I heard a kind of wing flicker when frightened pigeons rise up in the wings. Only this time the sound seemed to go back on course. Pigeon wings became closer, and I clearly saw a white, glazed dove moving in tiny rubble of the ruin. But did not collapse to the end. One sharp needle in the glass shard arrows crashed into my heart. I still saw my wings tear off when I felt the water free my neck and breath. Strong hands pulled me out like a jerk. People around called me something. Nostrils came to the open ears. I saw the sun and Yanni, who said what I think, well, she's with you. She's with you? I didn't know what to say. I went ashore, sat down, and tried to find something for everything. Explanation, and the main thing to figure out what to do next. As the breakers darkened, fewer breakers became smaller. Practically no one was going anymore. Pharisees and Romans had left. When there was no one to surround John, he came out of the water. I see it's cold. For at times trembling, and hands, feet were swollen from such a long position in the water. Well, Isa, what do you think you met? I do not understand. Honestly, I'm starting to want home and I'm scared. I don't know what think. I wanted to come back like that, but now I don't know if that's really what I wanted. I think I thought of something too much in my head. Isa, I have had that feeling and is also now. Yes, what either? These huge flocks come to you, and a whole cohort would almost meet soldiers. Let's go, I have to eat and drink. I'm not homeless, if anything. He stood up, smiling, and walked away. There was nothing left to follow. Freeze. After freezing, I really don't want to. Even if the desert princess did not see, the food is better. Chapter 5. 100,000,000. We got into a house, rather it could be called a pub, having a second floor room. All sorts of men. He was a member of the European Commission. Clearly, he knows who we are. The largest room was a song and string. Quietly created a strange, as if coziness, as if a sense of mysteries. Bread was distributed and poured into wine. I was ed, too. No one treated a young child like at home. I felt isming, all something. Spoke. Well, the fatigue overwhelmed me. I let go and I fell asleep. I was woken by shaking. The speeches remained silent. People whispered. Isa, it's direct is a sign, not a coincidence. With us. A village will arrive tonight. A benefactor who donated a lot, as money says, and in fact, thanks to which we can now cozily we can sing. I just don't really know that man. To me. Afraid there will be some Roman spies who will come to our fourth. Taverns came in. What does the landlord look like? It's so excited. Outdoor suing. There's someone who's got an important one. Talk to you. John stood up in legs. His dishes and remnants of food were brought away. The other men tried to shake. Get an S. If I said that the wind blew out the oil lamp, it would seem like fiction. But it was. At the beginning of the door, 3 armed men entered, or they were women of a large body, who were pulling something out. They walked out of the front door and it seems the plant-born lady came into the room. For a while everyone stood there, not knowing what to do to. John revived the fire in the lamp, called to sit down and offered the same wine from which we had already. And where nothing much, if not completely left. The lady refused. Discovered his face, took off cloth, unearthing a delicate body and some pearl decorations dressed like non-Jewish costume. No, it wasn't a desert princess, but something fragrant and tempting in her was, more tempting because of bodily injury and the sight of the chest and hips. That view didn't go unnoticed to me. She bit my lips, which made me more of a fire. She opened a leather-made bag and pulled out a small box in appearance metallic, but not forged. A kind of coid, like a bumblebee. Only in the all-tight metallic. As I understand, Yanni, it's you, she said without any. The ceremonies began to speak. Well yes, I will, John replied. And here's believe it or not, Isa, I think. He's in Cress. Maybe. He is. She opened the box, looking at it and then at me. Yes. He is. I'm drunk I guess like never. I justified myself or comforted myself. Let's go, she told me. I went. It was neither an order nor a request. We went into another, smaller room that was dark, and only the cunning month behind the window saw us. Don't be afraid, you're in puzzlement and not. Cannot be. Get out of your house and listen, look at me. She opened the box again. Fistis. Sophia sounds like a frog. I don't know what that means. I can't do Latin or Greek, really. She and your finger touches my temples, creating a path that I'm a fool. Where could I know where I? Greek. Here, she says, here is the kingdom of God and there is all the power and glory of the world. You're lucky, maybe not, but I'll ask you once. You'll answer me with yes or no. Then she put the box to my eyes, and the light slammed into my, now closed, eyes. Suddenly I was caught up in the spirit and stood in the same desert place as the desert princess. In the habit of the look, the sky parted again, and just like the iron creature with strong legs from the sky went down. Only this time the sand and the winds didn't blow my eyes. I looked and saw more clearly. Be clear. Even the chimney was gone. The gate came back. As the light glowed, she came. This time it didn't seem like a phenomenon. It was a man of living flesh blood. Her breath fell on mine. Magnifying glass. She was close to me, kissing me. The feeling I experienced is not words to mine. To be reasonable. She spoke, and the speech was as follows. I remember it all. I'm here, there's all this glory of the world. Four step to love only me and nothing else forever and ever. All my short life ran over the front of my eyes. I don't think so. I said, yes, phew. She was once again. Kiss me. I cried. She pressed against my chest, where her heart was pounding. Immediately jumped out of the ribs. I love you. You will live forever. You will sit on the throne of the city of heaven. My right hand, and reign for this land, for now I and my heart, and my eternity belong unedited to you. Protect it. She kissed me again, and I vanished in bliss. Hey, Isa, come on. What was? Stories that were, what did you see? Some kind of dream. Muttered. What were there, stories? You were there. Or someone else. She laughed. You're going to have too much wine, what? Okay, don't tell me if you don't want to. I'll know. Actually, my name is Miriam. My mother and mother's sister also called it. Well, I'm not a stranger. Miriam Magdalene. The only thing you have to do is do one thing. See? Sophia, there is this box and only I can give you what it says. It's a coincidence, since it's... Let's be friends. Alright, let's be. I don't mind Magdalena, just let's talk that tomorrow you're going to tell me. Answer many questions. I'm here just so I have to answer the questions. She closed the box, got up and slipped his slender hips out of the room. The snake to himself thought, a real snake. The eyes say annoyingly dig into the sun's rays. The head was heavy like a perch. Chew cure. Called breakfast. I got down to the first floor with all my best. Magdalene was already sitting there. All men like flies to honey around it. There were two of them eagerly. Or even to say hostile discussion, rather argued. Sat down. Put the master down there the bread. And a jar of water. Also visible in all the attention to the dialogue, you said he would be the Messiah. The next king of the family of David, who will finally drive the Roman-necked lords out of Jerusalem, but... Now about a kingdom of God and where you speak. You just used us to do your mystery. We have to talk to the men, collect the people, and take the sword against the beast who already long enough for the Holy Land, where even priests are bought for iron rattles and alien treasures. Is that what you sent us money for, and then plaster the fur? Otherwise, where would it be? It's new God kingdom. So the oppressors of Rome we are reconciled become? That's what you're preaching? Isa, she addressed. Tell me, you're the Messiah. You're going to be baptized now. Oh yes, now to me all. Bombs were thust. That's great. What to say to me, not to get angry with men and somehow the lady doesn't want to run? Clearly, it's another selection. And that's another promise to the desert princess. All this in my make your head even heavier. Listen to what Magdalena tells you. She knows much more about us. All. Both cops will see what was right. Everyone clapped for a moment, then paused. To be, as Christos says. We waited so long not to be denied at first. Let's go to the river. People have long since met. Lovely, at least tomorrow the cool air will take me out of the thought and out of hangover. We went out. Magdalene took one step with me. Thank you for defending. I was afraid of. You're disappointed. But I'm not disappointed. Now I'm sure you're in Christ. Now we all do not understand. Both they, me, and you. I think you're entangled, too. It all seems like some sort of fools, or worse. The unmisting men are going to end badly. But you know a little. For me, it will be easier. Sophia chose you. She told me that you would come and that's why I came. To me. There were also doubts. There is even now. But now I see that this is more truth than I would think. You see, no one else hears what Sophia says, but I hear it, so I'm considered crazy. Or worse, obsessed with evil spirits. You can drive those spirits out of me so people think I'm healed and ceases to be looking at the crazy. Well, you can, I know you can. I've never been young. Long drive. And I didn't have to live with you. Well, maybe one little one. Haha. Somehow today it looks breaker is 100-fold more than yesterday. Crowding. An unpleasant chaos reigns in the air. Much more Roman and other newly baked. With his entourage. Road, shouts. There's something important coming. Way, give way. King the Jews, give way to Herod and Her Majesty Princess Herodita. It was so much lacking in. Today. John was angry. The others were silent, knowing visibly what these actions were about. Magdalene leaned to my ear and whispered, "There's a little closer dealing with John and the charming princess. That's why someone is likely to lose their head, and I predict it's not going to be the princess's head." The guard. Separate my aisle free by the water. I want to hear and talk today. The Romans that were trained in the crowd so that the nobles have a good view of the river. John looked utterly matched, even furiously. He stood in the water and no one approached him. Then Magdalene entered the water and said to be baptized. "Wife, what sins have you fallen? Why purgatory you in water?" "All in all, my lord." The mule sluiced into, and the unpleasant snulling of some laughter turned into my eyes. Does her husband know that too? Someone was calling out from the crowd. I think she doesn't have a husband at all. She's from Magdala, said elsewhere, laughing. A rustle. Herod's voice was silenced. Quiet, don't be muffled, quiet. We're not on comedy. Jane, will this wife really have to be after your washing without sin and seams? And what about it? Say articles. Herod turned to the beside. The Pharisees to whom the scriptures are taught, everyone will know to say opposite, there of course. Quotes and explanations of article places where John would nt be right. It's good to have. The hardness of God has been experienced to us, so I will wash, and sins shall be made unthirsted too. Israel see and hear as God is not turned away and waiting when you're going to have your hearts done pure. Then shall salvation come from the coercion of darkness, and as promised the Messiah shall be given. Roman. The guests whispered visibly, with alarm, hearing what they were saying implicitly but unequivocally against power. It's enough to have us crucified here in front of the city gates. I was left with scissors again around the stomach. I chose to get the crowd laughing and sneering. In Yanni, continued Herod, we are long known, if not friends, then at least compatriots. How many you? Long step us Mesha? Of course I don't see anything bad in your teachings, but don't you see us all over here a little bit? It can promise the King of the Jews by the day, and you understand my position. I do not care about it until I have been charged with this obligation. And you understand my interest. When will he come? Here he is. Magdalene's voice rang out. He's already come. He's here among us. Here's the Messiah Christos crowd. Turned to me thousands of eyes. Every piece of my body pierced it. I stood naked, driven out of shame. It just seemed that the stones would start flying right now. But they didn't fly. Herod got up. He came to me, stopped, he studied me for a while. Then long time, at least eternity, looked at me and asked, "Then thou art the young King of the Jews?" It may not have been right for me. Sent it to the other world, but I realized that the wrong answer was worth my life. I said, "No, sir, you say that. Well, the young man is not up to the point, Yanni. That wife may be crazy, not knowing what she's talking about." John was silent. Magdalene had disappeared somewhere. There was noise in the crowd. Clearly, again to me. All deteriorated waits. Does John leave disgrace in Magdalene? Or he's right now on a lock hang? The farther away, the worse. I should have stayed home better. The Lord in my kingdom is not from these worlds. Herod turned visibly surprised. "What did you say, young man?" "My kingdom is heaven with my Father. It's not from this world." "You understand, the young man, about the denying you the death penalty without the raw possibility of challenging it, or otherwise saving yourself. Think what they're talking about. One of the Pharisees says, he, sir, speaks of the post-mortem kingdom. He never deny the emperor. All right, so be it. Actually, that's it, but I feel here and I see what's going on in the air. See that we all don't go out to evil. I don't want to mess. Come the feast, however. Mention my words. The guard. Let's leave. The breaker regiment collapsed. I stayed so encirclable. The people began to disperse. Someone praised, cheered, spat at the low, saying what I thought I wanted all of the grave to drive it. In general, it was a day of the river that was new. John is apprehensively quick to step into the tavern. Will we call our temporary home? Isa, thank you. Of course, it was brave what you did, You didn't let me fall into disgrace. To be honest, I was already going to disappoint you. There is another woman here in the air. In the son of a bit. What are you listening to? Show me what's in the saying. You're in Christ. To you now all these who was by the river will have hopes, and tomorrow they will be even more. I'm telling you, there's no way back now. We and I feel in danger of death. But wouldn't that be what we've all gone to? Elohim Adonai cheers from the pews of the tavern in the far corners. Yes, I think now. I.e. there is no way back. Chapter 6. The sun was already in the sunset. We talked in the room for the 10th time, trying to take the next step. Plan or plans to draw. With each jar of wine that was brought, those plans became both grandiose and more absurd and unclear. The door opened, she came in. Here is our great sinner arrived. One of the men was already in the fire. As one says, others felt safer and started, one after the other, to express on the tongue. So where were you? You missed the whole show. We are now Rome traitors and will be on the pole tomorrow. She was still to sin, so that John could again wash. I'm sure someone's going to be in the quarms. It's not you, in a timid way, Magdalene. answered, feeling the anger of most of the dissent around him. Where were you in the important moment? What did you leave one of your Isa? That fool almost signed the obituary for himself. USA. Left the hem of the hem. One donkey who's not his own. Shut up, came John. A little. You see what you're talking about. That doesn't come to regret themselves later. It's easy to sin with your mouth, but that's what your mouth sins. Words, it will have to answer twice before God. If your hands sin for the sake of the flesh, the mouth sins. Heart. Tfu. Magdalene spat and nodded to me to go upstairs. I went, too. There's nothing you got here. We'll not be waiting for a good one tonight, rather tense to fight. Let's go get those cattle to sleep. Drunk s not going to go. Such pearls toss. We went into the same room. This time the moon did not shine through the window. Stood. Clouds. Dark night. The wind was running, pounding, graving. I saw everything. I was NT anywhere. Gone. I broke into the crowd not to annoy. I heard what you said. It was brave. That's what Yanni was saved from disgrace, even though he deserved nothing. He was saved from the disgrace, but tomorrow his head will be rolling. I startled. I wanted to jump up. She did. SHSS, quiet. Don't be afraid of you. You can't do anything about it. Everything has already happened, everything is decided. Herod fears that there's going to be a wreck, so someone else's head rolls over him and yours will stay on your shoulders. You were lucky again. Why? Again I asked. Did you forget? She smiled, and kissed me. Did you forget? Somewhere from within the path from the stomach or as the bubble broke up. You. I said, watching her eyes, which on this dark night it looked like a cat or a night beast looking at a herd of sheep. You are in the desert. Princess. You're deceiving me. You're testing me. Or what you're doing, I haven't forgotten anything. That's how you. I remember your breath, your sweet taste of your lips, and the hot fire that takes over all the limbs when approaching. The smile shines on her face. Then you remember what I told you when you were you. Love more than anything forever and ever. Suddenly I was overwhelmed with numbness and fear. I could NT do it again. Neither express nor move anything. I'm not going to let you forget anything. I'll help you remember all. I will teach you all the wisdom of this world. I'll give you mess. Remember I told you you would live. Forever, you will sit on the throne of the city of heaven at my right hand and rule for this land, for now. Me and my heart, and my eternity belongs unneeded. Protect it. You do not have to fear the cross anymore, nor some fading power. Every one of them will take time and the servants of death will be erased. You will not be affected, because I believe what you have been doing and I see your heart that these were true words. The first time in the desert, when I saw you, I'm very happy with you. Something in you seemed so close and pleasant to me, and now I see that I was not mistaken, even happened to have it more. You're just not afraid of Rome. There are who knows about me and now about you. It's going to be a moment for you to suffer, but I'll soothe them. You're not afraid. I'm going to disappear at some point, but I won't leave you. I see the alarm coming up in your eyes. I'm sorry that way. Eternal life cannot be inherited only at birth again, but to be born again is too. The flesh must die, it must be dusted, from which it will then be a new one. Look at me. You see, I did it on my own experience, I say. Joy or happiness comes after suffering and an illness. I want to tell you so much, but there is no time. You're strengthening. I know you're going to survive. I can see it. You've gone so far as to. Now the ceiling back? Well no, you're not, my liar unleashed. Why didn't you tell me right away? You. But you knew. I thought it wasn't going to end well. Too good to be true. Something. Where there is always a hook on how to run across. Okay, I'm not condemning you. So I'm scared that I'll never. You know what they're doing to them? You realize I'm going to hang on a pole. Oh my god. Why do you? Will you get lost? Why are you going to disappear now? I'm going to start thinking that you were my imaginary image, that all I figured it out. When will you come back? After that, I'll be there, I promise. You can't do it any other way. I have to do a lot to save you. There's no magic here. Here's what I learned and what I'm going to teach. For you. I'll be back and I'll be with you in the toughest moments, I promise. She kissed me. And I did disappear in bliss to wake up in the morning. The roosters singed. Nobody was digging down. I went, was empty, neither the master, nor the man, nor John. There was an unusual silence. Atmija, i.e. yesterday's dream, or a dream. Rather, such a unsort of reality. I went outside. The street was empty. Isn't that a feast? I went to the market. Area scouts. Yes, there were people on the market, as well as a lot of Roman soldiers. I guess it's a holiday. Security. Went. Then looked at the cries from his back. Here he is. Here's the Messiah. Wajki, re. Where it's from the river. Time stopped. I wasn't ready for everything all of a sudden. Now, and really, with me. We'll be through. Wait, can't cancel all this? It's a nightmare or a fantasy. But I sat at home just now and I was being tied up somewhere to a place where the agony would die. There are already stones flying. Some wives throw me in the neck, kiss my legs, cry, fall to the ground, a man hit me. Someone spit, others look at me in despair. Why have you left me? Why now? Please. Don't leave me. I betray my soul to you. My body will soon be flattened. Field dog feast. Will not leave a piece. Where are you? You're going to be at the hardest time. Isn't this the hardest one yet? I no longer. I can't feel anything. Soldiers are flying around. They act like ants. The first nails pierce my hands, then legs. A wife runs over and gives me a cup. Crazy wife. Who am he to? The pain is already intoxicating, but she's just pouring me out of the cup with force. It's not him. There is something bitter. By vinegar or footnote. I want to spit outside, but she keeps her hand on my mouth and does not. The soldiers are driving it away. The post is lifted from above. I see people, I see the walls of the city. I see the sky throwing up a very dark morning star. It's coming, getting bigger. I'm dying. Time. It's death, it looks like it. If it can be said at all. I don't have any more. There is only light, there is a stronger path of wind rustling. I'm gone, but I feel like the winds are lightning. I'm swept. I'm gone, but I see the light. It throb and growl, flickers so fast. It cannot be. The only thing that I know is that it is flickering. This all does not change, it does not end as an eternity around. But nothing changes. Is it the nothingness of such a stay hanging indefinitely? Now fear takes over. So never before. Well, it's over. That's all and will never be. No more. It's been up and over in this reality. Set up what you say, soulful. The most primitive basis for being in fear of nothingness. You were trying to be together at the very heartiest moment. Come on. There is nowhere to be at that moment is not about nothingness the scariest. Please, you were going to be with me. Light. The wind went out. It didn't bring me anywhere. Now there is darkness, calm and peace. Somewhere in the fear vanished. Such nothingness seems more pleasant if it is to call it. I'm trying to see something or hear. Absolutely not. This nothing is any greater than I understand that I do not remember what was and what just thought or wanted to. Thoughts don't stick together. Word what? Where? That? Where? Am I a bacterium? Fungus? I'm okay, where? Isa, don't be afraid, I'm with you. I'm right here. At _by_ now, you going to see a little more. You're not afraid we're done. I was there all the time with you. Only yours. For a moment was not to hear me, to see the feeling. Red bows and blue tree branches extending. That stands and needles in place of needles all over the place. I have pierced the needle. Rather, the other way around where the needle is punctured, there I am, because I felt a stitch in midly stitch. Each is felt throughout until eyes through stitches like rays of light, which in fine music sweeter the pain they have ever had. I see a face, it's her, it's Magdalene, my desert princess. Happiness, yes, it is. True happiness. Sweetheart mine, I was waiting for you. You came for eternity, but now I'm all pierced and healthy with all hands, legs, flesh. So strange to see, hear, and feel again. Her kiss, which lights me up. Her glowing breath makes blood run like streams. In the mountains when the snow melts in the spring. I can only see you now, not disturbed by the sand winds, nor by the darkness. You're exactly Maria, that Magdalene. That's what you were, even though you thought you were his. That in the desert I met you were the other. She listened to my words and started laughing. There in the desert, your imagination was stronger than what your sensuality created for you. We see things not as it is, but what we think. Usually this place is the end. They lived happily. We're where? Can we go back there to the river? She looked at me in a view that I realized. I can't go back to the river or home. And in general, where are we? You have to decide at my I.S.A.M. We are Kurzem, which is still referred to as the kingdom of the dead. Literally it is, you died. And came here, so it's not a lie. Is it paradise or hell? Neither. I'd say you're lucky enough to have such a reliable, who am I telling you? I'm not my wife. Who am I, lover? No, you're not. Neither wife nor lover. You're something I don't have a name for. Haha, now think, make up for me. Name. Figure out who I am. But you're also lucky to be you. You see, time goes to while you're dead here. It's not the time you're living a long time. Soon, you'll also will not remember already. Now tell me where you met me. How, for the first time then. I do know it. Milk. Are you who? I know you, but who are you? I love you, but you're who and who am I? How? My name? What is your name? I'm just not talking about anything. This means that you were born again. Completely a new one. Now it's time to get back to the living. We're not going to sit here for eternity. She smiled and kissed me. A strong whirl of winds and water floods fell, brought everything, mixed, noise, thunder. The rumble. I rose up like a bubble, like a bubble that floats on top. When the bubble at the surface. Tears, baby cries, baby screams. Drops oxygen into his nostrils and starts fire. To sing inside. Yes, that's her hot breath, this life. I'm born. Chapter 7. I come from Aureliacus. It is a city of the French Alps. Born in both Beliaca. I don't know much about my parents. Alright, that's it. There's nothing in my life to be proud of. I'm considered a prodigy miracle child in the monastery. Because I am unusually good at learning. I don't know, rather, I want to get out of this state of sedation. And only in training I see the only opportunity. And just learning high virtues is something that makes me. Gerbert's simply a monastic rat like, all here at St. Gerald. When you know how to read you have an open, secret gift given to the world's invisible, secret, only a few consecrated. A gift that gives strength and can bring power, glory, all that so much. The carnal heart is wanted, and for which so much suffering and blood is poured, that God also died. Growing up in a monastery is probably to be the furthest from the cheek of God. It goes without saying that in such a stink God's Holy Spirit I will not take his foot. I'm not doing correspondence. My mentor received some important message. Judging by the seal and finishing Count Borelli Barcelona. Well no, I don't read foreign letters. Everything you made with time is known, even if worked closely to hide. I'm going past Latrac Bozo's house. His beautiful daughter Zozita annoys the window. Pilogigus. May a good day Bella my beautiful beaver virgin. Are you going to have to? Evening MRS? Gerbert, invite the ladies to the pub better. The breath real like scum of the breath, but what am I a monastery rat even to the extent of them? Zozita looked at me without laughter and said to Gerbert, when you become pope, I will not just come to your braid. Ha ha ha. I laughed. Well, yes, then promise. I promise and swear. I'll come, Gerbert. I think Zozita likes her, she's not evil. Or ridiculed by something. It already is. It's not me to take someone to my cell, where? Well, if there is a candle to light up at night, entering the necessary so that the head is not hit against the low vaults. I would give everything to her oath to be fulfilled, so hope is dim. So only a miracle of God, hidden in numbers, in words. The magic of the bulls. It's a bad one. Oh, every time after this bodily temptation, from which life does not escape, my thoughts go around. So be the shepherd boy, I, the fly, wouldn't think far away that he's been reading. And books on the forests of the works create an immeasurable quantity and breadth that the idea and if only desires propel power gives and wings. The sun had NT set. I felt tired. There is still a bit to the abbey. Sat on the side of the road. I had a little brand of wine to be scabby to seduce on those gras. What the road and the destructive to pay for themselves to compensate the disciple. The shame piece. Because I know the number better than the mentor and the small number of such frauds. Since the little days I have done, but the guilt does not weigh my great, because only to count everyone must learn and thisness of myself, no way as an encouragement to be seen and seen. The monastery towers begin to agonize the bells, to which hang the bell regioles. He came from a family of Greek legionnaires, after all the family members were killed. Someone in madness, in the monastery found himself as the Lord of the bells. Think. No God, Jesus, he does not believe in sin. Says everything you're going to do is on earth. There is no power to God along our part I or not at all for God to call it. He's not good at his head. I'm not going to see a doctor. Would, the diagnosis would plant that hysteria rectiva what only Ladies to be attributed either otherwise at exorcism above had long been sent. When the sound of the bells tried at the song voice single closed, then seems together pentatonics so. As the sounds go in, the flesh is. The soul begins to have images occur. Of course, he sees his own ness entangled in myths and tales that he had in his head. Nymphae faunus succubus, which quite sv. Antonia. Temptation every time he finds it, and that a true servant of God he crosses them. Chaste. Yes, it was so far until the next time the bell tower was climbing and 2, 3 men, he must always be dragged down so that the priest can start. I'd be stronger in my body, probably calling me to help. There would be like a good doctor to record me. Well, the time is to go until the sun. There is no definitive sunset. Brand's the dirtiest thing to expect from others. For a penny, the chimney has gained strength. And more like poison than Jira giddy me. Darker eyes throw, hard. Going to go. The merd. Where is such venom taken neba Aureliaca? That kind of belching would be driven. The famous class of La Rosa 888 that can be getting shame and disgrace to who trades such, even if the cheapest and poor of the Lord's servant. I think I heard the horse's horseshoes, and a strong saying pushed my mind. I'll be late for Mrs. It was the last thought until consciousness came to an end. Slept enough without a sense, so that the sun was deep in the sunset. Rain. Strong drops are thrm my head. I choked on cheap water. Almost that wakes up and washes me like Jordan's waters of the last sinners. Monsieur. Monseigneur. Monseigneur. The girl's voice is heard right here in the rain. My horse, she says, my horse has escaped. I'm freezing. And all hand. I can't even see the road in this rain. She's coming closer. I think it's crazy. Or a gypsy, but I see it as fine fabrics and soaked and mud-soaked. I'm going to St. Gerald's Monastery. Can take you, only will the lady have our walls pleasant and acceptable? Prosperity by law has gone to this place, so as not to mislead the orm tone that is given to our body. You, ma'am, would rather gold you are. Oh, I'm once again sure as a fool seems to be a lady's amores. Art is not taught in the monastery and Joseph is not even writing my success in the book. Any idiotic, though, might flirtatious act. She looked me close in the eye and said, if I be made of gold, I'd be so heavy that you'd have to harness 10 horses to get on your knee. I'd get me. I didn't say that for a while. Don't think that. She took another step and was right with me. I felt her nipples pressed against me, and breath like a boiling furnace rather in my frozen flesh, in my face. Heated. A smile on her lips tempted. Well, I was SV. Antony, so mine was a pasta. And now there are no mere nods or visions of the spirit. She stood in front of me. Bodily and sensations rained at his eyes. The wind blew away any of the sming. It. Clarity, the brightness of someone even in the daily routine is not found. Blood pumped, could melt ice and boil rain traps. You did NT say? Did NT you think directly? As she asked a question for the exam. Which, if wrong, I will lose, and what I'm going to lose this time will be his. I felt it and identified it so strongly that, or as the edge of the nation would not seem entitled. Yes, ma'am. That's the first thing I think. You see, I was a monastery rat, like all flesh, I am and Monas domus visus. She smiled now otherwise sweet. It did nt make me feel a shame. Or a breeze of the punishment. Take me in your cell, do not stay in the rain, in the dark. Without a horse, without a hand. Ma'am, I am your servant, if you accept. Never. Don't tell anyone, she retorted as anger. She stroked me cheek and kissed. You'll never make any roads. Never do you. Servant will not be. From brandotine poison and kiss was so. The sense of bliss that her touch of magnifying glass gave. I fell into the abyss like. Always fuss and trembled running over his back, and the whole body of each. The crimination of the flesh was full. I no longer obsess what it all is, or yet still I have poison action. And all this, like the human beings, which my body's sensory disorders displayed. As soon as everything was so clear and it would flow again in the fog and mud, beautiful eternity ends her rags disappearing. From my point of time. Never, she says to no one. Yes, ma'am. I'm not. Madam President, I would like to thank my name is Meridian, Monsignora. I'm Gerberts. The mass is over. Yes, 3 after midnight. She looks into in the box. How does Meridian know that? Neither the moon nor the stars. In the rain does not see. If you really want to teach, you're going to bring me in, so do you want to get me in? What to lie about would never have let anyone in I would be ashamed of its household. Where I'm going. You come Meridian. I'll get him well. Candles and dinner. You'll see. I'll conjure you a monastery plaziri. Ha ha, in my heart we joy. Even though from the sidelines, this delight came simply out. And she began to laugh it really. Well, relatives of wizards or rats are used to us in the theater and monks on the table. Will the feast be raise? Yes, let's wake up the old bell and Valoyo. In the kitchen he resembles God. Ha ha ha, she laughed from the heart. I wonder what I had to promise and what curses to hear, but it was both wine and feast. Only rats did not play us in the theater, but forgive them. I put my bear on her. I set myself up myself. On the floor. You're not going to come to bed? As underscore if in a misunderstanding she asked. What's in bed? There's a spot for me for one barely. I have nt come from her son to sleep alone. Then it's better to freeze in the rain. Come on. Yes, from afar I guess there's really a little other temperament and mentality. Isn't that what I want? At the same time, what would it say? But is it the hell? Is not exactly what I dreamed of. The moment when fate gives you. And only some kind of prejudice and mind idiotically constructed that. Intoxicated to put his foot in the way. Front. I took a breath. Ma'am, tfu. Meridian, if you will not interfere with my snoring, from which I am ashamed, then with the greatest desire to share the bed with you. My bed. Ha ha ha, you don't snoring. She laughs. Yes, even if tenoring, then take note of me. We'll kick the cob and scratch. Because we were going to be on the receipt, ha ha ha. She laughed. The candle went out. The darkness felt safer and I got into my bed. The divine. I immersed in the swamp like an eye-drawn eye. I'm here. I can write, but I'm so much more so when I remember it every time I remember it. And the hair hands are shaking. Shedding mascara on all the sheets of paper to start over and reinvent. I love you, Gerbert. You're going to be big. Why do you say Meridian? Why? I want my darling to be a man. Among others. I know you're depressed for that. No, that's not it. Now, maybe, I know how I do. Hush, don't be right. You were just in me. Why do you have me? Ashamed? You got me and you left me. Am I not a person close to you? Oh. Forgive Meridian, I may be on the sidelines like a monk of a monastic one, but I'm like those in the village of the fly. The same desire. So disguise know how. This is to make it would seem sacred. I also do not like the teachings, even if I am prodigy and call a miracle. Yes. I am in the order of order. I brought you here and responded when the rain. You called. Wouldn't you be so beautiful and look high, leave it there in the rain? Oh. Forgive me for this humbleness. Oh, please don't give a say. Calm down. She got up from the bed. Come sit here on a chair, light a candle. Where's that wine? We're not opening it at all. Look, she took Manu of the year. Placed his hand left on the table standing. Picked up his amphora and beaker. Listen carefully and try to understand what I'm saying. I risked you very much, but I don't know you so well, Gerbert. Me tomorrow, I'm going to can be burned like a witch on the pink, you know. I understand. I nodded. Like fear began to take over me. You, too, the witch Meridian? I do go. Believe me, I will not report you to anyone, I am not of them. Please don't be afraid, you're witch? Tell me to understand. Gerbert, I don't know who the witch is and believe that you, too, could not define it for me, but I know for sure that there is a flock enough to see the flames burning. Gerbert, you want to believe me like I really want a lime. I see light in some sort of crimination of hope in this darkness. You are my Prometheus, you have this candle. The cooled candle lit up in small lights. Really like Elm's fire. Or as the fiery tongue of the Holy Spirit came from above in the works of the apostles. Again, this oscillation from clear carnal humanity, rain and wind. A gust of kiss nirvana from a carnal body, pleasure, skin touch. Agitated members of cooperation, where words have no place, so movement and feeling. Sweat through the primordial dance unfolds in full. Biblisca phantasmagoria. The mysteries of heretics, of some of the holy nightmares he read or heard something out of the Bell's pandemics. The patient's serials. Or I'm already going slowly to the basement and the mountain range, or Brandavina has dissolved the clarity of my mind these years without noticing the clarity of my mind. Or yet my prayers and deepest desires are fulfilled. I looking in her eyes. She holds my hand at the table and another. The sacrament of the amphora priests for Easter. She pours half a cup of wine from amphora, then felt my hand being pressed tighter to table. She removes the hair buckle, whose wine tip is in the blade of pulley. Gerbert, she's a US and it sounds like a again exam, just a lot more important last, my dear, say, or I would like to write this down more clearly, in more detail, but you will never would not read it, so going further into the flood as I felt. I heard I live. Dear Gerbert, I dedicate myself to you, my spirit, my flesh. Or step to love me more than anything and never disappoint? That's all I'm asking for. I was embarrassed. Here everyone would shout yes, yes, of course, the little fool. Logical. What it comes to. So I can't know who I am, I know my nature and why this, as well as what to promise me, seems unenforceable. I do know how my thoughts nature will change, what motives will guide me tomorrow. Who I'm going to do in years. How am I going to promise anything at all? She asks to be honest about something. I can't promise. But I know I'm not promising. This night will be a dream to remember and for which I will be able to cry for eternity. Or promise. She repeats, and I break something inside. Promise. Tears begin to flow in their eyes. I felt as if he had said, my child, betrayed. Nearest friend. Aches and an invisible blade split my heart, I see. As she smiles, but I do not see that the answer has given credibility to what has been said. In my hand, which, and I did not feel like my own, the sharp end of the buckle. Lifeline, followed by a wisdom, and then a lake of blood is formed in the palm of the hand. Droplets roll onto table. She looks me in the eye. Smile seems sad as underscore if she. My thoughts and the true existence of what I said. She raised my hand over the cup and made the blood drops fall into her, mingling seamlessly together. His is the witch's direct intention without saying anything. So I watched this unprecedented. The cup took his hand off it and my pierced hand was brought to my rags, then starting with his tongue. As the dog licked, and the truly scar bleeding stops and tingle was go. She took off her neck a small bottle and its contents in a valley cup. Nothing happened. No smoke was seen as alchemists. Mysteries. She took the cup in both hands, picked up a little and said, "This wine is my blood given for you. My blood, I thought, every time you remember me when you enjoy it. Please don't forget." She took and drank the cup and the side gave me. I drank my blood and wine. I wondered how it tasted, like lingual, or after spruce herds with menthol wine tack were from the best. It would NT have gone down in vinegar, or what? A strong Meridian small bottle. It's not in my blood that taste really. Now the cup was empty, I left it on the table. She knelt down at my feet, looked up and said thank you. I was NT able to keep such a sudden. Looked humbly off his chair with him. She was going to be back in. Clung and kissed me. We became like a mad animals that the sun's rays turn into a carousel of the rut. Somewhere, all the new. At the peak of paradise, I hear the trigger. Once I began to realize that there was the reality of the morning, and I am in a monastery with a goddess. To me, in bed next to, as well as a bell and a kitchen boy are far from being the only ones. Abbey dwellers try one last time in dream to enjoy this win. It doesn't work anymore, so much trouble. At one point, she wakes up, grabs my head tightly. And yes, I guess it ended. Fairy tales with bad endings. She says so, and so much the EU is. I'm not going to go looking for me. A pessimist in me. Raise your hand in the air and point to the sky. Tip, I told you who you thought things would be different. Everything will be feeny, nice, cool, happy, blithe. That S here for you is as expected. To or supposedly welcome taking my life's negative total scenario. It did not diminish the bitterness that I felt as we felt sucked through the gaps. Heart, she continued, but, darling, do not be afraid or sad. I am going to make you the highest. The man you could be today. Take it for good. Don't leave me, now wake up and see how. Quickly she dresses up and gets her hair with. I repeat in my voice. I didn't leave you, Gerbert, I have to go and time for me to fill your part, you just don't forget what you. And I'll be back soon, you'll see. Years will not be 4 characters. Entered as I will Some kind of riddle again this morning, sounds like bells. She came over. Kissed so briefly, make me feel like a child who is being pulled away from breast. Goodbye to the path of lightweight. The door and alone, the silence, the hums ears filled. The only morning light that shimmed into my window. My prison, I am around sinful in all the world's worst sins, doomed to the future of anticipation. A small bright asterisk was quick enough to shine right in my eye. Who just stood beside me, my and so real. As clear as this morning star, my Oster the bright princess. Chapter 8. I didn't see them long until 999 was the same monastery. Zerkai. The highest, or perhaps even human, in the highest zenith of time. Somehow, even not forgot but put down a shelf of memories and dreams. I'm not going to be lied to. Another effect I've thrown on Joseph in her family situation. Policy is not so bright at the moment, and my informal grace is that bad joke of fate. I know that playing back to the past is the biggest drive that's me here. Ginnies. In such a dual way, two entangled vipers around my soul without the poison or medicine. I was Cordoba again. I was a hospitable and personal audience of Abdul al-Hazred. Closed in a private library where I pearls whose existence would be attributed to such myths. A_lot_ of things here would have been stastomas. If I'm going to tell you that extraordinary moment in this audience next, the good people under the guise say they're sleeping in bed. The EU as such a thief, not even as, but exactly the thief who stole the car. Godavaram. Who has brought me to his house to show his own workshop. How many Negants. All the more so the servant of the Lord and the whole Church of Christ are now viewed from. I get it. I do not regret it any more than that. Then the Holy Chair thought. In fact, fate is only why I brought this throne more clearly with day to see it. The morning she closed and smoked. Memory. Smoke, all in my life turned up just up. In a letter that I had been swept from the nobleman for a visit that was just there. The miracle. It's for me. Was sent and soon sent to the ambassadors as an interpreter, as an advisor. And then taught in Cordoba, I got to boom, here I stand in Rome, and my friend the nearest is the emperor himself. Evil liars, both says of Irib, and even the magic scene were other saints in the chair, pure chastity side. Rather because of the narrowness of conspiratorio and interest so little. There is a troop of friends, and AI wide is having a bush I not all aware. Guessed on my wall ears and doors as they lay. The darkness of the eyes opens, someone even made him known. Hazara's indictment, which was already witnessed and prepared by papers, will be slept until the stock is weighted enough for my head for heavy stones. This theft Joseph, who will simply be forced to speak to me Otto. The ships and another card I know I'm going to get over the table. Been made. I know that stats my jumps back and forth like a flea. I'm at it now. Momenta. When fate brought me again. Only beyond what I tell will be a thin plank or an obsessive Scurbuma philosopher. Obituary expressed. In the book I got our Necronomics, the last hearest. And in the devilishness of which the only light on the pink burns so the way. The story of both the profound ancient knowledge used gives a created ancient deity by the original iron then flesh highly masterful necromant. Can be used. So we're retarded, and the Saracens are retarded here. Behind an old lame mare who soon or fallen or the host's keeper, if this art might be without my Bispratigajam domum. Will help the Holy Land to recover or bring a new time of lordship or even in the darkness. The moment I stash myself, I'm comforting my life waiting that evil not later considered. In the sea of stars ride the sky boat, it listens or legia someone whispers. Her name is called, so speech to what hearing ears it will come from. The sky that will give home to convoys of desert after stars know how to find that ship they. In the desert sea flying digital formulas must be placed in as many thousands times it exceeds what stellar interpreters and their disciples makes. Roman letters, how many miles to write bills for these Arabs? The wise men report their numbers, with the magic of the numbers, to find a ship of heaven and speak and ears to hear. Also in the house where bring me to read the book of the dead, I do that I understand and live it. The following, I'm going to behind the seas and distances of stars, who will live separated from God's kingdoms, reachable where dust melts, the living spirit and the soul disappears, standing in a quantifiable and above all unifying atom thought. Every grain that wheat mash is quantified and only they are lost. That's what Prometheus brought us, what she wants to get out of here. Netadam. At that time, feeling was the man, this beautiful nymph angel or himself. God. So much my insourness and greed then shifts where the clarity I find has NT been capable. Maybe this me and the crazy ones obsessed with me. But here's all done. Iron has spoken what I have said. Done. I'm waiting for the ship I've sent in the opposite. However, the storm rises and coast. The crimp-free harp with waves is mixed with neither heaven nor earth. Sea. Flashes increasingly fierce that the gods seem to be on a postal day are then launched over thunder and lightning dances shrill. Invariable parox noise that pushed the bright streaked the sky and thrown into the sea, so strong boats that from the storm hide forgotten that shreds against the shore was tilted. I barely saved up to the morning breakfast down into the grave, and the speeches of the furious storms I heard sunk in the come to the port's bay on the beach. Read a group of the tables were curious. How visible Paris rescued in the matter are sailors Paris and girl. Girl. So handsome and face seen, so I notice coming up by the hand takes end. Hurry arrow leads. Take me quickly to hide me, but act quickly. And that room was a steep closed door sealed, and there sits meridian flesh and a long clear really, which, with events, I have more thoughts than peace would bring. Chapter 9. And again dream cold where the glacier city wounded wings end. Running wounds, hot life slowly leaves the slammed body. Steam rises as she moves, all she slowly sinks into moving ice. The open tomb. Same hot blood as the sky itself. The insane northern lights that reflected that the psychedelic nightmare makes the view wonderful and beautiful. Moving ice and steam. It's already cools down and the earth is falling in a kind of huge snowflakes. Slowly. Back starts to flow in the chats right there when closing the ice grave. There is no underscore longer a. Sparks of frozen members hardened by a composite metal overgrown ice flowers whose prate was inked for life. Captive, still so bluish light and northern lights. At the top of the iron ice, iron darkness. The last spark of they could run across the waves in the hope of hearing. But there is only a void in all frequencies of cratic radiation particles, who have now broken off uranium captivity, now pounding the world.
Meridian sensuals. The ether also keeps the ether quieter.
The last spark of the as radiation crackle. Through the ice roof is as her senses go out and knew the visions created that frog radio. Yes, frog prigem. Seeds SDFS re received sa vastoka. Widwi.f. Reception. Comma. Empress. Skyatvat er.e.re.di hotgo.na. Atvit posals to jump tibja is a show mnez dat. Zvezda vastoka. The emba for the sky grip all over the honor. Visual grip. 30,000,000. And then no longer follows anything left over, just radiation. Sparrow witch, along with the light and knew the sparkle disappears on never. Not return. On the ground the freezing winter will not end. It's reckless. Sylvester looks awake at the girl next to her. Today from the ships of the sinking Taverna met. Is she the one? Dream of translating that vision. If it was a bronze. Where meridian takes my clarity and sensuality already. Wake up. Wake up, saying to shake her is almost shouting I. Muting her face, overwhelmed by fear, you his. Say you're she, you sent me a dream, your meridian. Answer. Do nt do me crazy. You his deathly voice again. And she nods, yes I promised if only I loved me. Bush with you forever. I came as spoken, I see your dreams, I know what you're really doing and I know you're true. Just promise never lead Mrs. Jerusalem, please promise you. Die, it is written in future archives, if you are warned then the archives. It will be false. I promised you to be up to. But if you're dead, how am I going to keep my promise? But I'll have to. Go to Jerusalem, ICANT, why not let me down? Want? Hostile, I do nt miss the secret benefactor who guards. And with Saracens I am more a friend than an enemy. Than iodine in Rome. I'm more likely to be in a lynch. She looks at me and tells me not to drive. To even promise I did nt go. Now all those promises come. Well, I'll cancel the move elsewhere. Festive MRS, thanks Gerbert, I want me to get a room so such. Which only you can enter, one whose door leads to your sleeping day. Come, I'll teach you, you have to know a lot of nights. I'll be with you, the rumors will clear, the talk will begin, you're ready for it. Want to tell her that I also had a dream, but a hot magnifying glass and a touch of fire takes me away and forgets the wind. Makes. I'm back in love with my youth, I'm walking. I was doing something but I could see her. Beautiful face warring her body and sweet herbs taste, she is. Enjoyed by the love goddess Aphrodite, Kamala, Rohini and Venera. Oh my god. What's going on with me, what's going on with me, and that it's coming to me now that. Old myths or Pelong legends. The sun behind the cloud. Or the darkest corners of the pulpit. Driven away by the power of love. More often the force must be used. Go days and happens that she asked, I have a room rather gold. Cage where the phoenix I locked in a secret. Keys from the non-human mind and the power to break. It would open up so much. You can with words that only I know. Nor is it a marriage, but rather captive, though I am so more of a trail captive. Day, she. I'm taught mysteries overnight to be a passion for crazy surrender. Come closer to the holidays and already letters are sent, I still cancel the mass. Jerusalem. His speech with an oral that housed her in. Future is reported by the same alchemy as the bronze head, I put her voice to power. Here and who sent ships westward. Atoms were numbers, and numbers are quant, from each number can be opened in the four counters, and from each can read the whole world in the kind of philosopher's stone that also. Both in the box and in the bronze head modus operandi created by her father's mothers. It would nt be any more soon, and it would be a loss of light.
They had brought you and her mother's. Mess calls it mess in little.
She saved her. Is in books and ancient writings. But it's all lost. That the stone was NT forged. I have to build a library and search for books. He also taught his art what we would call necrosis. Then here's the necromantic thing I'm going to judge. Can our Lord's blood and flesh are in her veins and now my. For I have enjoyed her flesh and drunk her blood. So that she says I won't die and we'll be together forever. If that's the way it was. Why not go to Jerusalem if I did NT die there? I can see more in his story, more confusion and anxiety is not retreating a step into the sedge of time I would go when. Looking at her so quietly she does NT. No chest eyelids so spoons plums almost visibly inflowing. And more imperceptible exhalations descend. So calm is dead. Man seemed to me to have thought of coming out of the dark corners. The moon that shines on her cheek is playing with the light of my eyes. Beauty. Peace and shine of some man's body yet different in him. 3 years old. Love pleasure, but there is no happiness or perhaps not. Fortunately my posts themselves understand what a problem it would cause. But such an outcome does not do to me. Heart wants him to love some. Bear the fruit. No underscore more than that, she is overwhelmed in every day only in the story I just remember the record and see no end nor edge. One lesson is followed by 3 others who understood. 10 times the ignorance entered. She fears that if I do NT. What a message necronomo, yes, the same thing Abdul al-Hazard's take 2. Bronze head-on turns out to be a necromancy that I could read. Then what a bad death will win. Then what is it like? Immortality or yet mortal or eternal. Do not understand, and I think she doesn't know how to translate what she says. Like that only I was a bronze. The ability to translate only she hears and understands what the voice of the box tells it. Easy to keep it as a hysterical delusion. Could be done many times and appropriately. All virtues what the news and such as hippie or Pythagoras she would teach me if we had been taught here that in Cordoba. They would be surprised and blessed. Only, unfortunately, I can't. Or the people to find him. Then what's the good if kept in secret? So time has passed and festive events. Where membership I must take started, I drove one she left on her golden butt behind the forbidden key when the bush back was then unlocked. Will be able until then prison, so one will have a day overnight. Is included in the accrual. For 3 months there he and bred alchemy potions. I have provided. But well, she can't get to her, noon can get to her.
If the walls in them would become her.
Catacombs make me restless now, I'm obsessed with. Alarm rises from every loudest noise in every errantest shadow or in the image of a person. Nights I sleep, I can't sleep like fools. All taught with love scenes increasingly blurred and remote. Every day. Mice will be outside Jerusalem is a small cathedral in Rome which formerly the place of the temple of the pagan goddess built. One of my last years of the thoughts of my goddess my.
Chapter 10.
You take my love, you want my soul, I would be crazy to share your life. Why can't you see what I am? Share the senses and turn the knife, hurt me and you'll understand. I'll never be Maria Magdalena, you're a creature of the night, Maria Magdalena, you're a victim of the fight, you need love, promised me. Delight, you need love. Why must I lie, find any prize? When will you wake up and realize I can't surrender to you, play for affection and win the prize? I know those party games too. I'll never be Maria Magdalena, you're a creature of the night, Maria. Magdalena, you're a victim of the fight, you need love, promised me. Delight, you need love, add credit to Sandra Maria Magdalena. The key from heavenly frogs to the city of my father and mother who drifts between the sun and the sea. There only we can be together without pain, without reborn, without all lies. Until then only I will be yours, my shadow, where only at times the most important or unhappiness for the highest price paid, honey and other blood I'll knight it. You, if you call me by the name of you, you know what you know I'm not.
Meraja Magdalena nesmu esse arimeridina nesmu esse Marianne Gerbertisa.
Osage, remember only its paddle lock /alam istera inanum / Realizing that his end was coming, Sylvester made public confession, regretting their sins as opposed to the prophesied end. Meridian warnings and requests even attempt not to be ruled. He went to Jerusalem, and exactly how to put where he died. At the end of the must. It comes invisible force demons persuade in the air. The sacrament to the front of the no drop of blood land fell, it remained an expanded lie and his eyes lying front of the altar. His body was moved to Rome, in the middle of a large burial walk. Even Nezaligaki Swiss guards un parvideteus satricoteus polis critoso. The rocky rain could not persuade Meridian to leave the Beaver March. She soon opened her terrified guard's eyes. Sarcophagus and dozes to his Gerbert with her death. Meridian Bedrida. Alongside Sylvester too in the sarcophage of the Basilica of St. John Lateran. Those who have visited have told stories about thick fumes. From time to time you can hear the tombs. Strange thing to break in. And mild underground fluctuations come from the sarcophage, then also remain. Sills A. Condenses dew on statues and fences. Let us stay in this mystery of history. Let everyone understand and ponder it on their own. Just say again, remember heavenly Vardy called after me, name called. From all the force so loudly as to tremble the earth and lightning fall for. The northern star of the horizons makes you way so that the wind up your mother's woe must be beaten 9 times the moon. Directly with the sun in conjunct when the right day and hour in the doomed. Come, you can't linger for a second, the gate opens once. Centenary and you will not be, and I will not have me. Will be blamed at my father's house or LL stay with my friends and no _1 will ever know me again. Nito. I say goodbye now, Sylvester, I'm coming again, not afraid. You going to die in Kurzeme now. Anna will expect you not to be afraid, as I promised I will not leave you. LL see you again. Just say oh again, don't forget my name. My dumb consciousness, dark sarcophagus wall, incomprehensible creature to me. Caught up around like a scary start to drag me through. Stone slabs for the iron wall, she becomes ants that thousands of insects that scarab from Egyptian jewelry they destroy and roll up. Small balls of my flesh say to see it on the trail from the edge of the long ice. I don't know a different word, but I don't have any eyes or ears. Dream of the rut of emptiness that is falling down that ocean, and it only force began to turn the carousel, then already sampled the whirl, and now whirlwind, I'm going to go down. Crossing space, exactly the word space reads nowhere, absence what? Am I all start to stay distant, just cold? And hunger taste lack, absolute vacuum, I absorbed my own. In nothingness, there was also vacuum and infinite hunger without any words to describe is not. Darkness, no light, no sound, no further saying words. Express. You've left me in. Why have you left me to know you? Gerbert, oh, my clever fools are sweet, you'll find your memories. If you find me, you'll find me. She takes the box from the drawer. It has one tablet of a glass of water drunk going down the hallway, which is light without any lantern or candle. At the end of the hallway stands Mass Anna, recalling the holy gods from Byzantine icons embodying ascetics and discipleship. Is the opposite of Meridian's defiant, even aggressive, attacking sexuality that the weapon it always used. Anna. Salutation to him. Wait to hear. Meridian stops, turning to Mass. That you suddenly have to say Mass after years? Anna looked down at her. Continues, I hate you all this time, but it's because of envy. Yes, the Mass of envy is not like was planned, not as if you were still small, you grew up without everything. Burden of the past. Trail, I know you took the last Samoa to him instead. Give yourself up again. Mass bring stupid, please. Who is been whatever hatred we have in between, but you're the only one left. If you go to see him the Eland again, then it will be the end. Everything also awaits me, disappearing like I did. We're going to be spared. No one will ever look for us, and if you now in the hope of it will be lost in the hope you cannot act only because of their fantasy and imaginary love. People only use you to achieve your ambitions and power as much as you times you've made sure you've been going and rattle and pay this incomparable price also to us. You all of you have sacrificed on this altar of your fantasy so that I am not, my dear. But I'm the last one now if you go on. She looks up. What's true and hands-on, Meridian replies with her hand, and the only time touching the Mass, this eye's inviolable smile. Door. The Kurzeme tunnels closed and the furnaces recovered with hot lava. Open shafts, the power of the earth mantle and the spirit of life. Blood stream through blood vessels to the heart. Cyclopical machine crew. The Earth's central holiest place of sheer Kalyamab, around with resurable images, all cryogenesis customers and well doomed. Hope frozen now loses the last card. Inanna of her love and fantasy power turns out to be Paraxes them. The room of the reanimator's throne begins to rotate in every possible direction to maximum cut ball. She'll have to break earth mantle and the thin layer of minerals. Read a volcanic wake up here by the sea and the voice of a fisherman. Help the drowning. I open my eyes. Hello sun, hello my new day. Chapter 11. Stila Mare Stila Mr Akalini, you do not get out of the tent. Ma'am, I'm not a lady. Fabricio shout, come faster again to the body. And here is one survivor, I say, come to the senses, must have burn devil. Suddenly pain paralyze me, kako me laka. Da demonium.ms, you have a little to know that there is no miracle cure will take off the good drink all. Line nor Ripstat. Fisherman gives me his own heath after the uncorked first aroma can. Concentration of methyl alcohol and any other things I can now settle. And you rather let me thank him, says Busheye. A bright escape. Messi is no live horse comes new. CNS Lacom Fabricio. Madame Fabricio sen Armens. Marine. Pleasant in that you my doctor. He looks at me over vermin de Shizo here at all about Shiso. Captain Shiso, or if he liked chaplains. And what a lovely lady like that. Doing herring in the fort? Herring fort? Laughing face, must be complicated because I sat ridiculously. That back and all the good side as a nomad just Ada would be like. How not is low gliders when lippin a present like no near and links there. Does not work at all, never worked, but to charge and set up a new date need point one of the last of his age. Nightmare works. Nina's decorative means you know higher than practical seems to me to be I think I'm going to in the Mars May of essays, blaming some long-standing Honestly dead stiff and respectful ancestors would take them. Gaku madam, you must just be raving so damn abominations that people already says to watch what it's about the dead resurrection, laughing face. Alright, so glad you were 3 hours asleep we got. Sock and sock track will be easier. What you did? Madam, all without any sin to me, first time no one you naked. Did not wear Fabricio's blanket and picked up the shirt or how to name, but it was utterly envied and completely trampled on the ashes trail. Now this is all about the straw bag, haha, at least it could have been. That nun's cloth would be a resurrecement. Is not such a coarse fabric that sandpaper. They with what heavy fuel oil I think have in so well, it was better. The sting of the poison. From her at least time patnas. Hey, just do nt say. This ruin is deed of me. Leave the coast and now I see some misery and terror around. Let's go to the fort's thick fortifications kept it healthy and the ash whirlwind and its occupants have not been swallowed up. Walls, some stupidity is nt like I'm going to regret, but it's not. Note that all my calls were the expedition is may lock a punishment, yes, to punish all me and all of us are. The punishment, yes, mess. Yes, have knocked out also more my hands and yes, a lot. That has happened. Only now it is not pure my choice but rather the shackles that the primitive sensuality driven itself. What a moment. Love sweet lie now seeing frozen ash avalanches surprised. People seem to be scoffing from the past long _ago and falsely. I'm not going to look for him anymore. With the inevitable destruction must end with the inevitable destruction. Please if direct happiness to me where there is a brick scratched then for a long would nt go away. But I no longer felt like I had. I'm not going to make it damn any more from others. Stupid clothes. How they're pyro kla. What you say madam, I am trying to remember it as called. What's called the pyroclastic stream. What? The clustries? I nothing. But you are carrying clean from France. You will accentuate you, the Spaniard, rather than Mona Senor. No, I'm not a Spaniard. Okay, it's already meant to be. He has come up. Fabricio is actually half Spaniard, there is no, laughing face. Dei durst Fabricio wipes now from where from. The habit of pointing a finger at a steaming volcano, or rather, the place where the volcano was. Haha, mess now all of. Can say from there now vo it's a new life. Say what meaning no longer. Past? Is nt it? I wish it was that madam says so to me. Safe in any new you see this fort is that too. Says the shrewler, but ista you were nt Alaska's captain or who was there? Chaplain? Was before the herring fort. Clear for a while. What should be more cyclolic to you? Give hope? I do nt know like that I can't. Shut it off my shore will take me right away shut and then the only perspective is in the guillotine. What is the guillotine? Madam, you re-carrying it from French and I guess the press does not follow it's already guild fine lady or also. Nes malka des tef acis is pulso.a vanahas madam tas nebat. Wickedly says tfa what the convict let others joke. Guilt. Herring barrel or between frozen ash ghosts. And here so. Beautiful Madonna, you could be a holy local and I that pie like rims it. I'm going to come to mysteries. You paused? Know what captain you captain on board was or where? On sailed if anything Spanish. Isabel's pink sail and steam engines. So sank. I'm sorry, but time is not because you're a Zioira. What do you say if I hired you as my private captain and swear? Swear I have a talent either day since the baby's leg. There was no one else to swear. Have NT broken it? That kind of obsession with me. No guillotine will wait for you if you are agant and so. Figure out, he says to the stimulus. Madam, you must be raving, look around, at least one boat left us to fish here, will not starve, will begin for some more, Captain, you. I'm going to be talking about what you're talking about. Here a week too. Until the guard would open the fort and the hook to arrange me, and you can only see the bars, you will also understand why herring. Strong. Then you want to get up here, not just hire me? Madam New. You raving day or not drunk? Around, I was already. Be smarter, and do NT need to teach me this? Bag of cool wind gently licked the dog as my wounds walked away. A wife threw a cross at my naked deer on the steaming ground. Perhaps spooky. A little mud broke me when someone _else's rosary was held by Mary. Counted the demons, Malaka, laughing face. Well, if you promise to abjurbtize Bush, your captain for life, I thought. We'll be right to Gibraltar. Gave him the knight's hand. Fell on the road, Madam Captain Shizo, at your disposal. Rise my knight. Ha ha ha, for this we think should drink Bryce I again. No, you still have. No, me, you already to you and your end. My two. S not true, we healed her. Knew my lady where our course would be. To Gibraltar. Ah, lovely. And then to Sicily. Ago kicked me. I've never been Italian in a long time. Brave seas, wolf, Ferroasimio, and muddy breads, and empty almost bottles. Who you do not see, watch where the leaves are burning. Mom mia, Holy Maria. How can it be, I God. Ma'am, what? Ghosts. Now the day at the wharf was that again, and there stood 3 masts. Schooner with pink sail, really, as he was sunk. The effect of new. Or what's wrong with Chizo? Or too small a ship? Madam, I did NT really. Saint Mary merciful, he throws across and is scared not to feel ferry. Emptied is the last day. How to call it a ship, ma'am? Meridian. In honor of an old acquaintance. Ma'am, really, you holy. Or the devil, I really sail at your disposal now, she so. Stop, but save it. Yes, madam. Soon, there's been a furnace and steam machines, say their meditative lay. Finally that man fell into bed in normal clothes, my men slave. The furnace alternately at the steering wheel, and we keep a visible shore. Gibraltar. I felt very good for a moment, then I was been. The Meridian is a good ship for it though. Moon hung above the waters, the polar star seemed to be the world. For a moment, and good. Meridian ship and Meridian, other than Meridian and not Marian. Fell tight. Chapter 12. Aurora's Legend. While the ship was on its way, and everyone was bored having a day, Marian pulled a bottle of rum from the bottom. Notified to the team. Team free step with a cultural touch. Captain Shio was locking in. Steering wheel. Fabricio lay in the shade under the sail. Since we do not have television and we are also in small quantities to build theatrical game, I got an idea and wrote down a louse story, or cases. Fairy tale. The authors point out that it is actually the famous fairy pixie. In your own person. What's funny about it? I won't regret you too. Immediately feed the sharks. PD. Not they're funny, I'm. Noticed that you are a creative French woman, but poetry and fairy tales are new and a little scary if it's advice, growled El Capitan. D-tac. Shut up and listen. Once Princess Aurora played with an iron needle and stabbed a finger. A furious short circuit in her wiring connection. Mighty thermal inferno burned all lifelines and Aurora went out. Eternal death. She was buried in an old cemetery. where by tradition her guts and all valuable parts were removed. Such a furious precaution to avoid grave spoilers who just later penetrate the hoe it treasures by teasing the princess's mother, and all. The people of that time were immersed in deep sadness. Here's the story. Might end up applause please. Haha, here was direct drama. She so snarled, laughing face. Here suddenly she shouted loudly and markedly if Vienna. Far away in the once famous land of the rulers, Regia, one blacksmith wishing to earn a living sucking money to keep his family and crafts, one day returning home from the city market. Make a fatal mistake, it's going to get into the pub to take a drink. Then another bad day market, no one buys. And from no piece is sold. They are lowered down. Anger to take over the bridge across the rapid river. Keep the clock as small vessels carried rivers towards the sea. They resembled small compasses, even. Some start to call from joy. He calls for a buzz and says he gives back the money when sales are better. The tavern girl says that he already in debt, but she can lend a little from her salary on once the blacksmith repairs her mechanic's doll. The head of the doll blacksmith gets used and happens as it usually becomes dark and the winds are beginning to blow and large rain drops, such as rumors, hit pub windows. I have to go home. The way home is hell. At the crossroads, the pine was struck by a bright lightning, tearing the old tree fragments. Brilliance blindsmith falls to the ground when the vision of it, and he gets closer to the burning wood chips, scattered and melted sand were still shining like evil eyes. Me or an insane? Or it is you, Satan, who has cometh to push me to hell. Then, when you saw lightning pits in a beautiful young girl undressed in pink clothes, where my body is covered with frightening wounds, drops of blood, falling to the ground resembles blue diamonds. The view then turns to the blacksmith, while trying to get up and walk. But her eyes immediately turn to collapse like that. Help. Just a whisper once. Their hands are being held. Blacksmith brings to the house this night gift. Jacob, where the hell have you been drinking again? Why are you doing this to us? Think of children, we no longer cows nor yarn or grain. I'm going to leave. It is impossible to live anymore. The door to the There's rain with the wind falling in. Shut up, Kirsten. Bring towels and alcohol to the children where the fire. Holy Virgin. What are you holding in your already? In our house is now too crazy. Are you completely enthused? Shut up, Kirsten, help me put him on the table, take the towels, stop the blood. What to see? Blue. Everywhere around. Blood on the floor and on towels. Holy Mother Mary. The man brought us a witch and brought the curse. The children were making firewood. Stops and shouts aloud to Dad, bring us a witch, Dad. Us a witch. Will be fun now. Red oxygen. Ma'am, you look at me, you're just conscious. Handing alcohol to wife. Children or whose kill makes coals stretch to work. Metat. Clocks inward crucibili. She suddenly cries out no to a. I am not a lady of no lord of the world, and power is not servants and slaves are. Freedom to understand. She was delirium in delirium with someone or witch. Saying again to be unscathes of coals captures blacksmith and the sharpening wound is heated. Dreadfully cracking all underscore over the room. Fires, but it works his shouting from top of the table. Jerks where I am who you are. Going to be going around. When the blacksmith soothes it and enlightens what has happened. But you say who you. It would be that you should honor you if you cannot. I am a heavenly wisdom. Sword Kusanage Sophie's stronger fist and blow. Daughter of heavenly winds. Angelos and the light bearer Lucia as well as Saint Anne and Meridian what? Knows Magdalena my love. That but only the end almost got truly some heavenly miracle that you keep me. Do nt think too much I'm not going to swear a swear. I'm good at it. Well, how long ago from a man I don't have. Be this I am now amazed and embarrassed that also a little joy, my heart now feels. So oh you re-exemplary with this misery. She stands against the mirror and sees his face shattered. Party face. Angel's side in the others sounded metal or a fabric that is the same and finally. To be able to do. Looks bad, she slides on the wall. And tears begin to burr. Wife comes to give her a mud end. That the child was comforted. Blacksmith walks up and out there and one moment Evrika I have. Idea so sure I'm not, but the only angel I ever knew was our late Princess Aurora who long ago that the tomb of the rulers. My shame, I confess that to create my own watches could still surprise the people of the market and set a lot of ashes. With the plying tomb I have had to come across. Of them, I also heard the story about Aurora and even knew where the road was to go and maybe with your reachability we're in the crypt to get into the possibility to forgive me for this sinful, but in order to save more life the dead body would even want to. Even so he would reborn himself and find fulfillment. Amiru. That blacksmith with the heavenly sword Kusanage dozes to the tombs of. Broke into the Aurora's precious body and artifacts. Blacksmith Aurora and Angelos were so that little or a young creature was. The most perfect occurred. For that, he and his family were rewarded. So generous that they were appointed rulers of the Retias and lived if not forever then at least rich and almost happy. That's what the story is now. All their seats fuller from the fullest forward steering wheel to course eyes not to distract from the horizon fast cannons ready quickly for me. Seem to have found us I think we're about to sink ei. Shizo Fabricio who will be the one I love most about. The Bona. She's not a normal captain once. In the chests. And the almost visible masts came directly to the horizon. A royal fleet that hunts pirates. Lift the Ailey Roger captain. What a fun thing to do. Roger, that pirate pennant, we're going to sink us. That's exactly what I want full sails to terrorize those. Know how to get it to give steam more so that we have a better speed. I'll get upstairs if anything if you sink then had to be with you. Fun Captain Shizo. Here a description of the brutal sea fighting in the semi-sinking. A lifeboat with Marine and the two men stops on the shore is evening.
The distance I see on the horizon slowly dives into the boat without sails from the shining.
In metal it does not need to master it flying the same name at Nutilius U00. So it's a good place to find where to go overnight. There is an incoherent. The trans issue in history is Tina as acceleration to the present day. Where polylised by rotating the CPU powder with red diodes burning pulsed Bianca's heart. Chapter 13. Today's protagonist to whom we give the nickname Devs possible to it. As a prototype. He pus accidentally creates general artificial int elect gives it the word. Bianca. One of the test sessions, Bianca begins. Strange to behave and in the path too realistic to talk it leads to. Reanimatus Meridianus. She immediately expresses her desire for an order. To go to the city of heaven known as Anne for it's her sky. The sky can only pass through Baikonur using Archaic and one preserved ship in the old bunker half. Forgotten, only a few cultists maintained, waiting for this day ship called Enadin, just as Davis tattooed ladies with a monster on left arm. The sky, Bianca to reborn in the flesh. Installed throughout the system. Code is not a complete count, does go wrong. The city of heaven loses the orbit of the dark side of the moon at the point of Lagrange, and falls down while a chain of events is on the ground leading to Armageddon and total destruction. The North Pole is now falling. She also dies in the glacier as the meridian sinks into the glacier. Only Davis' voice on the walkie-talkie keeps repeating the words, "My Eastern Star, Queen of Heaven Prigem." Then the walkie-talkie pauses and joins. World, winter was quiet and eternal. You know that fairy tale. Devs, privet Bianca. Bianca, privet at vidi mina v by Kenner. Devs, ti evos kazela ito gluk.
Bianca, it negu kative di mea vubai con urne medeno. Imale. Sdelati it na zingov de 12.6.7.
Devs, I'm a perverted happiness, but the floor will be you. What the Nakonic is going to do wonders. Bianca, wonder the number of program rabotajet hati takoi. I don't know, and there's the pan of the problema, and there you go. Budet Tofia smert. Devs, vo venenita reunion so smerty die hot poradovit sa na. Seconds blin no mne den egg online on pasta and limes for Melkim v. Abalosh s. Bianca, I tut Msp movie in the internet there Jeraje nu tot. Pirate sings in the set and Vino set forks ha 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 ja hughes. Pirate. Mesdu per cmi vapsida bila edem piratum cadata.
Alum taimago.
I will cape road tweets and estuary as importantly as possible. Utipja main maladets ana sodat v sadak taxto sas prij day. Taxi picks laptop and phone rust and phones. VA report Vashmi Nazaki be me a listen to you.
Pudaugeraske uiv samaloten i budet 100 tag af 10 mine. Eres sapusti laptop kaksavak. Devs, ja vi bjudag 201 til aspesavlet mosk. Bianca. Mosk til beboelsavlet kashiravu hahanup i maladui. Paraer. Til planeflaskhiste alarm lights op in.
The light drops out in the oxygen mask headphones sound her voice. Now keep remembering whatever happens I'm not leaving you at the time. I'm next to you even if you think it's not for eternity. Only for you, I must promise you already know what you can do. Dev's trying to inhale from oxygen mask but there's nothing coming. Also suffocate, the suffocation stall depresses. She says to her. Offer. Bianca, do you promise to love me forever? Then I'll give you eternal life and you will sit in the kingdom of heaven by my right hand. And I will be yours on the fly, oh yes, now like never is it a payest, and close. Or step? He asked. Dev's trying not to suffocate. Yes, I already love you and love you forever in the meridian. With strong noise, dark in the lost consciousnessless dream I see such a desert trail of sea or the lake mountains across that huge endless blue sky without no stars. I'd say that's what Palmer meant by the unseated word starless. Water, yes it's water, but it there is a sea in the mountains, do not know how it is possible and where it have a dream, know that it's just or more than just a dream, yes. It is the sea. With even the lowest level of lower consciousness, I felt what will take place next. Across this smooth mirror runs across the sea a narrow wave, then another one and another appeared in a huge concentric waves, and I see that they arise from the sky falling Diamonds or Yuden's pylons for strange reasons. Am looking more _ more high. The sky where their dark bottom was almost noticeable. Growing into a top star so bright that Betelgeuse and yet brighter now begins to stain the sky as if the sun this dawn comes from above rather than rising behind the horizon.
Earth begins to vibrate on the water, begins to form resonator wave patterns.
Dust rises from the ground and the wind rises. From the earth itself, the waves of sea take effect and dazzling light they form a hellish natural phenomenon that, like an Armageddon falling meteor that falls into the taking all the air and hitting the surface and
knocking them on top of me in the form of a huge tsunami. However, 3
inches before my nose, tsunami wave that knife cut splits and that the cinema's biblical scenes in known water part and 2 wall burning seas on my right. Left hand weaves touch to feel the asking. A glittering mirror ball approaching me across the water. The inside can draw the silhouette so it's she know it's her. Bullet rolls right over me and I'm just an inward bullet as she stands for me. Beside her body glows incomprehensible brilliance, she is naked. Her Ada is that fine infinite fractic decorated spell patterns that you look at can be lost. Magnifier. Pink cherries or Tico's slaughtered bull's eyes in gale. The blasphemous plasma, I think I hear the Geiger counter cracks. Only they have cracks in my head, it's hair that thousands of Zemju having each of their eyes and cobra mouth poison teeth across them in detail after size, but each sleigh could make me 100 points. She presses tightly at the staring me, I see me through, I'm paralyzed and dumb. It happens when someone reads your thoughts and your heart. I even know what she's looking for and what she wants to know. Fear. And the excitement suddenly turns in and I am aware at last that this is the moment when she is ending with me, all the infinity tipping point. So that he kept. I begin to burst into tears, want to shout how much I love him every very this time that the Inquisitor tortured my spirit as many nights and day I how to the sun and praying for a moment of her merciful at one sign that would make this all easier. I love. I want to scream you, I can't do all the flesh and mouth and now. Breath is frozen, paralyzed. Then she kissed me, I felt. Her heart is going down in love, that melted iron, that sulfuric acid burns me, but this pain is the most enjoyable thing I've ever has enjoyed. Her beauty and magic, all this got me into my consciousness that an inaccessible monument. Then I wake up. The van looks like it's an ambulance, or who's at least on it. Half mass is containing me. Masana, Dr. Date Emu Yukul, he rode in panic to invade Pols's Uzasnij. Bush says he's going to take Europe and take paved road. The phone rings with her nervously gesticulating and then freezes at me and something confirming several times. Repeats. Masia, yes madam. Yes correct. Yes madam. Da me rope. Zagzajem v balnica. De madam. De ja silencer. Those soothing little muddy, the whole picture do not know what they, which is reality now, is like a deep skin. Bring me into the mass along. Explains to the older lady at the reception, and it picks up the phone and I can't hear what I'm talking about. The handset is put on his affirmative nod. Instantly takes me on the same stretcher and loads the ambulance, another medicine, and I'm missing the movie again. Bus goes to someone to call it a villa or guest house. Are located a little apart from the buildings of the city. Saying the Gagarina. The beginning of the street at the edge of the city, and highlights on the transition background is that the purple sharp roof of the central The building, which is most surrounded by the perimeter of another 12 smaller ones. I guess there might be some guests' houses or maybe there do not know what. Children, dogs, horses. But the dogs are quiet, I can't hear them. The gate opens as the bus enters the gate. My stretcher was taken out of from the van and left the middle of the back end. Boarded the van and drove. The gate closes. See that it's a small. Cottages are without windows with small doors opening and direct dogs or wolves run out of the field, or I don't know what outgrown creatures. They're throwing themselves at me, I mean the end, they're going to tear it off right now. Nevertheless, when they come forward they shall approach me and sit down in a circle. The total circle of the all 12 around. The door opens to the large building and see an elderly woman about 40 to 60 years old. Beautiful. She says the dogs they return to their huts. Their doors close. She comes to me, pulls out an antique spit tib. Quickly finds my vein and inserts a needle. The needle is not as nowadays. Seems like it with my hand, just from the inside. Sense. R explained. With enlightenment and sticks everywhere, I have to. Inside a huge hedgehog mutant breaks outwards. Breaking, it pierces every centimeters of the body. Hi Dev, I already thought I'd never wait for you. I mean, it's a midwife's fairy tale, but look no behold nonetheless. How I think you're as excited as I am. There is not much time left. By tomorrow at 4 p.m. we need to get to the startup complex. Time doesn't really have much. If you want to go, let's rest you a little and go out of the that you've blown. And I need to understand how things should be done. Must be done to be correct. All this was long ago. It's mom's tales. We sit on the couch. She gives me strong black tea. Sits next to me. I guess I won't tell you anything. We're just going to have to go. Sorry. But all these years this silence and emptiness is. Before the road tends to do so. At least this couple of hours as a gift for years of time. We sat for about 2 hours until we had to move. Was sneering at what mountaineering gear she also. Kolesnikov gave me a gun, Makarov's usual. At least I thought it was still dark as the gate opened and we went north to the startup complex Bezimjanoj. Fortunately we didn't meet anyone on the way and shoot at any. Did not come. Stop at a huge old hangar like Russ. Uran and walked in, she turned the switch and miraculously turns on the light in the distance I saw. People glazed space says bustle says duet transformers. Let's get dressed. Headed for a lower underground floor there. Changing rooms to wear blue compression dresses later. A lot of haste we took the room with such that a small meter Kurt Ang Paris. People gave the honor of raising a hand in the subway at a low speed. Tunnel took us to the starting plane there everything says converge. In an unreal dream blood my heart pumped at such a pace that never. Life. The final station. Tunnel samples largest bunker where tracks lay as you can see a very old rocket by the construction of the net. And one net Soyuz we went to a small door at the very end. Where another 10 dozen dark robes and protective glass eyes. Front dressed in a crowd bustling work on the left wall.
Big red diode clock at radium 432 time manum.
Here was a nervous atmosphere. The door had been closed.
Comlinks says hiss. Said.
Moi wary star of Vostoka 2 Empress of the Sky your friend. Karabol moi comrade. Hearing VOT is evacuating the raid on the VSE Kastodi I vizive mina pokonet hutoka zavidopa sled nava. I after all the honors panel. I nodded soon a small locomotive pulled us out. Underground 2 taps were ingot vertically T5 LAC already says complete. Space where around 607 says work the main accelerators I occasionally. The power of the moment and the wind and light with the sky. Uppers and the uppers sped. The sky opens, and we leave this land finally freedom finally happiness. Baikonur notes / April 12th, 1961, 607 East 1. 1961-012A East 3A number 3 first / manned flight. Final views. Biancas _ Meridianas, Serpentawinga, Brut Forsto key opens. The Durava of heaven, and Sojas Zvezda slammed into the same and enthroned city empty no. Long ago there's no valley of your code in central Altair that it's called. Andrea sits in an reanimator that is more like a sarcophagic. All that's going to go out of my way is classic to attack and fall. Running on Soyuz Zvezda trying to start the module retro engines. Which too little power to lift the ship they are for only 4 orbital maneuvers and unseating. However, the Kata Sandra's Biloka Gravitate worthy flame ignites them and engines for everything. Around exploding pulled the ship away from there. Clear to a normal. Atmospheric reents do not take any fuel. Shut my eyes, the film pulls. Zvezda falls to the fiery meteor staining Tunguska's sky behind. It follows a gigantic heavenly city scraps the whole steps from here to the mighty Chinese wall top bombed so heavenly. Case. Well, logically, that's the war. Natural finals of the end of the world. What endings? Tunguska number 2 came Seco Blakots. The entire northern hemisphere to Greenland and the other end. Vladivostok or that there was called forgot where the submarines held them there. Emergency situation occurs burst general ignorance. Cover China begins invasion time in Alaska and at the same time for Kazakhstan. To the St. Meridian that of the icon. The angel in triumphal miracle goes to the final apocalyptic game Kim. Your Paris nuclear dart seducer but do none I. To work in an earlier nuclear war response system that has already been 2 PK cults around the world's perimeter had installed. And who had to implement the prophecy of Revelation. Water and the fires will be soluble in the our little blue dot that miniature lights up in the invisible. Supernova no abium pallium isavis protuberances light turpat. Disperse in space. The freezing of the meridian's hand. The sphere of the annihilate atmosphere implodogen knocking through. Body and the soft flesh that was slowly. Could NT protect himself? Implosion driven microparticles that. Thousands of small needles pierced the body metals. Liquids and liquids in the gases, the gas was made into plasma and destruction caused life to fall as a increasingly quickly. Air turbulence broke everything that broke and atmospheric fire greater from tore everything out of the stretch.
Nearly bare broken wings shattered overboard in the Arctic glacier.
It was a stroke of earthly force there in the moment that vanishes into eternity. A spark of consciousness rewinds the movie. The death of Meridian. The text of chapter 9 of Sylvestra's dream.
And again dream cold where the glacier city wounded wings end.
Running wounds, hot life slowly leaves the thick steam rises as she moves slowly moving. The open grave of the ice. Same hot blood is now a capsuar. The sky was the lunatic northern lights reflecting that. The view of a psychedelic nightmare makes it wonderful and beautiful. Moving ice and steam are already cool and the earth falls. A kind of huge snowflake. Slowly the chats start to flow back. Also closing the ice grave. Have NT frozen any more sparks? Members hardened all that composite all metal overgrown. Ice flowers whose prey was forever captive. Had such a bluish light and northern lights. At the top of the iron ice iron darkness. Last spark she could run across the waves in hopes of noise, but there is only emptiness in all frequencies. The particles of radiation that have now broken out of uranium. Beats all over the world pounding meridian sensuals. Also a hissing. The air keeps quieter as the last spark goes out.
Radiant cracks that passed through the ice roof. Were already.
Her intelligence was healing in her own visions that Vardi radio.ja Vardi Prigem Zeeds SDFS RER Zeeved Sa Vastoka.c Must.f Prigem Comma Empress Skyatbit er.e.re.di hotgo.na Atbit Posals to Jump Tibja is a show mnez dad.z Vesta Vastoka. The Empress of the Sky grip all over the honors. Grip. DFD.f and then no underscore longer follows nothing left just. Radiation spiral which disappeared with light and sparkle. Never return. The winter is freezing in a never end. The end.